Trine 2 is a bit of a beautiful mess. I'd still totally recommend it, but there are still some things that I wish I didn't have to endure to get to the end of the game. And let's start out with what the game does well. And quite a bit, in fact. For those who don't know, Trine 2 is, the sequel to Trine, developed by Frozen Byte Studios, and it's a platformer with heavy emphasis on physics-based puzzles and some light combat. One of the game's main draws is its graphics. As you can probably see, I don't have to tell you that. For a downloadable game, this game is very impressive. It has a fantastic sense of detail in all its backgrounds. The levels are all unique and look amazing, and the colors just the colors. The game's art style works so well thanks to the wide-ranging palette that really sets the tone of each level. Bright but dangerous forests transform into poisonous bogs and then into treacherous witches' huts naturally, and some clear thought went into what each level was and how it connects to the one after. Some levels stand out more than others, with my personal favorite being Sea Rock Castle. That specific level represents all the high points of the game for me. I mean, I would have just shown this whole video just like me playing through Sea Rock Castle, but I mean, you want to see more of it, but anyway, that level just looks amazing. The music in that level is also fantastic, which can be said for most of the game's levels. I wouldn't say that there's a single level whose combination of visual design and accompanying track are poor. They're all good, just some are more memorable than others. Although the game doesn't stray too much from traditional fantasy races and tropes, meaning orcs, wizards, castles, forests, whatever, and all that stuff, the art style and music give the game a unique personality that doesn't make it feel generic. Now, the gameplay. It definitely works very well in some cases, but it falls apart in others. The game is based around 3 characters, each with unique abilities. You have Amadeus, the wizard, Zoya the thief, and Pontius the knight. The game is designed to be played with multiple people and to have each character use their unique skills to progress through the game, as it is impossible to play as only one character. Single player lets you cycle through the characters at any time, and this makes the game more difficult and easier at the same time, so the game doesn't really feel like it's more enjoyable one way or the other, which is really nice. What I really like about the characters is their skill trees. Collecting blue bottles in levels allows you to upgrade the characters, giving them some really cool abilities. What's great about these abilities is that they actually change the dynamic of each character as opposed to just making each character get better at the same type of skill. They don't feel superficial. Amadeus is pretty much always the puzzle-solving character, but he gets more proficient at fighting later on. Pontius actually changes from the fighter character to the most agile character with some puzzle-solving capabilities, and Zoya changes from the go-to acrobat to the powerhouse warrior, and it makes the game feel really fresh after hours of puzzles and light combat. Another thing to note is that I would get to points where I'm almost entirely sure you could not proceed unless you have been getting those upgrades, and I'm not sure if this is a negative or a positive aspect, so I'm just going to throw it out there and let you decide for yourself. The puzzles are fairly well designed, and there are some pretty clever ones in there, but on the flip side, there are just as many puzzles that can be solved by stacking boxes until you can reach some arbitrarily placed ledge or collectible. The combat is also fairly light and generally really easy. It's just not deep enough to be advertised as a selling point for the game. That being said, the combat, but specifically the occasional boss fights, are frustrating because of how much easier they are when played with Zoya. Pontius may be able to hold his own, but Amadeus is almost useless in boss battles, meaning Zoya is the clear choice for those segments. For example, in a boss fight, you usually have a boss whose weak points are well above ground level, and you can either use Pontius by scaling an unreliable series of platforms to maybe get a swing of your sword to connect, or have Zoya spam arrows and win pretty much instantly. She's also the character best equipped to avoid the game's many one-hit kills, which are found most often in boss battles, since she can use grapple points, leaving the other characters trapped in corners. And basically, if Zoya dies, all you're going to do is use the other characters to get to the checkpoint to revive her. It doesn't seem like this was Frozen Byte's intention, but this is just how it worked out. Most of the game can be played as any character, but some segments give one character a distinct advantage, and when that one character dies, single or multiplayer, you always have to make the trek back to the last checkpoint to have another go at a puzzle that involves one-hit kills, so it's just a cycle. This problem is made even bigger by the unreliability of the game's physics. One rule I came up with after playing a very specific level is that the better the stage looks, the more frustrating it is to play it. I have the sense that Frozen Byte really tried to make some really cool looking stages with some great puzzles, but often objects and characters will slide down slopes a bit too often, things will fall and break when you don't want them to, and the stage may have too much going on for how slippery the controls can be. The game doesn't always feel like this though. Many stages have very reliable physics that make puzzle solving and platforming very straightforward, but some levels just seem too complex for how sluggish the characters' movements and actions are. It's worth mentioning that getting the magic bottles for the upgrades are the game's hardest challenges. That's where a lot of my frustration came from. They're always just out of reach, and some of the solutions I came up with felt like I was breaking the game, and that's never fun. Stretching the physics just a little too much to be satisfying. To its credit, many puzzles have multiple solutions, which keeps the game from getting too frustrating. Can't think of a way to lower that bridge? Make your own. Also, to its credit, is that the stages aren't entirely linear. There are secret caverns within levels that require some legitimate exploration or puzzle solving to find, and the rewards you get range from artwork to poems to even a secret level, which is exclusive to the Wii U version. If you get the game with the Goblin Menace expansion, the game is about 20 levels, and levels can last anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how many secrets you go after. For $20, the game was well worth the price for me, and I'm sure that some moments of frustration would have been a lot more fun if I had some friends helping me. The game's flaws are less apparent if you just want to play through the game without going for 100%, and the puzzles and beautiful presentation are well worth the entry price.